Hey, it's Tommy Allen from TommyAllenMusic.com. This week we have Jon Amor. Come check it out. Thank you very much for coming and joining me, being in the chair.
Pleasure, mate.
So, with your music? Let's go back. The first album, because wasn't really a follower of the Hoax. I first heard of you when you done the Amore album in 2001.
Yeah.
And I saw it come up, and that was about when I was leaving Nicky Moore band around that time, and I saw the CD come up, and I got a copy, and I loved it. With all the drum samples and stuff that you had on it, and the beats and that, it was really cool at the time.
Thank you.
24 Hours, the drum loop at the beginning, I guess it's a loop that was going.
Yeah,
it sounded great.
Yeah.
So what took you down that angle at that time?
Well, the thing with the Hoax, we'd obviously had a pretty good ride for 8 years, and as I think happens with a lot of bands when they've been together a while, you start pulling in different directions and wanting to go down different routes, and that's kind of what happened with us. We all wanted to do sort of different things, really, and I was really interested at that time in mixing that blues guitar sound with more modern sort of soundscapes, for want of a better word, really. Loops, samples, I loved them. I loved that sort of vibe. Dancey, I suppose. In a more, obviously, a good old shuffle is pretty dancey, of course, but a bit of more of a modern feel, and I wanted to experiment with that, really. And back then it was a challenge because we didn't really. I don't think Pro Tools had really taken off, or it was fairly new, as I remember, and it was kind of a new world, really. It was working with loops and samples, and then the challenge was to do it live, and in that situation, Wayne Proctor was the drummer at the time, and he was really into that idea of triggering loops.
Right, okay.
With sort of trigger pads so that we could recreate it live.
I came to one of your gigs back then. I think it was the Farnham Mortons. And,
yeah.
And you had the loop playing back through the PA system, I remember, at the time. So, yeah, that was quite cool. Was that him triggering them then, or was that on a...
Yeah, Wayne, we had an old Akai 2000, I think it was, sampler with a floppy disk that we loaded up with all our sounds on, and Wayne would trigger them with his pads that were built into his kit. And, he was perfect for that because he had a great sense of. He was really good at following loops, and really tight, and it kind of worked. I have to say, I think a lot of people at that time, particularly people who were used to seeing me play with the Hoax, didn't know what to make of it or hated it.
But they're loving it now, aren't they? Because I saw a feed on your Facebook. You had loads of good comments from that album recently.
Yeah, I think it's grown over time, really. I think I don't want to say it was ahead of its time because that sounds a bit pretentious, but I think maybe it took a while for people to be ready for it. That sounds patronising. I'm choosing my words carefully, but maybe. A few years later, it might have been well received on its release. I mean, it still did pretty well, but I think that album, of all the albums I've been involved with in my career, that album in particular was a grower. And over the years, lots of people have talked about that album, and a lot of musicians have talked about it as quite an influence.
And I bet at the time for you that was a big change for you to make the best of that situation at that time, because you was just leaving a top band and you're trying to stand out on your own, and you get that from it when you hear it. It's got the energy and all the great lyrics and the riffs, of someone that's, you know, saying here I am, you know. But like
Yeah.
you say, I think you scared some of the ones that.
Yeah, I think we did, but I think we also took on a lot of new listeners, and there were plenty of people who didn't know the Hoax and came to it fresh, and that was really nice, you know. So yeah, I think you're right. I did have something to prove. I think anybody who comes out of a band who's done reasonably well, you know, and has something to say and wants to keep making music, you do. To an extent, you do have something to prove. Particularly, you know, I wasn't the singer in the Hoax, so you know, singing was new to me. So I was learning that as well, you know, and learning how to be a front man and things like that instead of just being the side man with the guitar, you know. So there was all sorts of challenges going on, but I enjoyed those challenges.
That's great. And then was it the one that? What was the album that followed that? Was it Johnny Two Sugars?
No, Johnny Two Sugars was like a demos album.
That was 2005 that I found.
Yeah, we made another with that band called Even After That. That was the second album. Right. That was like 2002. And there's some great songs on that album. It maybe doesn't hang together as an album. Oh, well, maybe that's unfair. I don't know. I don't think it's as strong as the first in retrospect. But to be honest with you, Tommy, every second album I've been involved with in my career, it's been more difficult. And, you know, it's a classic cliche, isn't it? Something gets twisted between that first album and recording the second album. And you start, I don't know, maybe trying to be a bit more ambitious. You want to do something different. You want to keep people on their toes. But you also want to try and keep your identity, and it's tricky.
Yeah. How long you been writing songs?
Well, I guess since the Hoax started up, I was writing songs for the Hoax in 1991. They were pretty awful songs, but you know they were.
Did any of them make it onto this Amore album then?
No, no sort of ex-Hoax songs or Hoax rejects. I had a very productive period between the end of the Hoax and that album coming out. I was like a machine. I was just, I really was so motivated at that point, and wrote loads of songs, and they're probably the best 10 that I came up with in that time.
Okay. So Unknown Soldier 2006, would that have been following the one that you said then after the second Amore one?
Well. Okay, so that band split up in 2004. So then I really was on my own, you know. And Unknown Soldier was the first album I made truly solo, working with my producer at that time, a guy called Steve Evans, who did actually engineer and co-produce the Amore albums. And that was great fun, but it was a labour of love, that album, Unknown Soldier. It was recorded over quite a long period.
The Unknown Soldier?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Stories of a Crooked Room, 2000.
Stories from yeah. Yeah, that was...
solo again?
Yeah, but I worked with some friends of mine who went on to join me in Jon Amor Blues Group, which was a few years later. So that Stories from the Crooked Room was recorded in my living room where I was living at the time, which was a very crooked house. And with the help of Dave Doherty, Chris Doherty, and Simon Small, who helped me make that album. They were the band on that album. We just set up in my living room, cleared out the furniture, set up and recorded it live, as I remember, mostly live apart from the vocals. And that album's quite acoustic based, so we were able to keep a nice sort of controlled, tight sound in that living room. And I really quite like that album. Actually, it's got something about it.
Then I followed on with Live and Unreleased, 2011.
Oh yeah. Yeah, recorded that at a gig up in Carlisle. which is a great place to play. I'm sure
Yeah. Which one is that? The fireplace?
No, this was in the King's Head. So in the courtyard of the King's Head, it was outside, and it's a nice sort of tight little space, and always a good crowd there, and always very enthusiastic. So we thought it would be a good one to record. And it's just me doing my acoustic show, and I think there's a couple of sort of demos on there as well. Hence the unreleased part of that title. Yeah.
Then the Joel Fisk and yourself live at the Farm 2015.
Yeah. I did a few tours with Joel. Hopefully we'll do some again, but I'm sure we'll come on to that. Well, don't know what's happening there, but Joel's a great player, great guitar player, good songwriter and singer, and we get on really well. And we decided to do some gigs one time. I don't know what year it was. I want to say 2013 or 14. It might have been a bit later. It's all a bit of a haze back then, Tommy, or else. But he said, "Well, do you want to do some duo gigs?" And I said, "Yeah, why not?" And I like Joel, so I thought, yeah. And we didn't really rehearse, and we just picked a few songs, did a few shows, and we were amazed by how well it went across. So I think a lot of people really enjoyed the kind of spontaneity of it, and again, yeah, we decided to record a show and put that out. I think we recorded that in Essex, I believe.
Okay. And then Colour in the Sky 2018.
Yeah, so that album, that was kind of recorded either side of my battle with the booze. Most of the songs were written while I was still drinking, and partly recorded, and then I had to suspend it because I just got too ill, and just couldn't function, and eventually managed to resume recording. When would that have been? Late 2018, and that was crowdfunded, that album. So there was some very patient supporters of that album, but that was great. But I really like that album. I'm very proud of it.
Is it quite a dark album if it's from your days of when you're drinking that?
No, actually, it's bizarrely it's a very positive, optimistic album. I think even when I was drinking and it was getting its grips around me, I think maybe there was still something in me that had a spark of hope, perhaps, I don't know. And then to sort of come out of that fog with some clarity and a sort of new perspective on life, to come out and finish that album was really quite a joyous thing.
What was the turning point then? Was it, you said you were poorly? Was that what made you think, I've got to sort this out?
Oh, well, I ended up in hospital.
Right.
Yeah, I was not in a good way at all, and actually being admitted to hospital was the best thing that could have happened to me, because I detoxed there, came out sober, and because I was very fortunate to have very supportive family and friends around me, I managed to maintain my sobriety and just sort of start again in a way. It was an amazing experience to go through. I don't recommend it. But actually, it's in a strange way one of the best things that's happened in my life.
And you come out the other side, totally different person, different outlook.
Not a totally different person, but certainly a different outlook, different perspective. You know, you just have so much more clarity and a new gratitude, and you have a true humility. I think, you know, there's humility that comes from royally fucking up your life, and a kind of new wisdom and self-awareness and all kinds of things that just make you look at life differently.
So was that the last album then so far, Colour in the Sky?
Yeah, that was the latest one. So I think that came out Goodness me, beginning
2018, I think I found on the...
Yeah, end of 18, beginning of 19, yeah.
And can people get that at Jon Amor? Is it jonamor.tumblr.com?
Yeah, but if you type in Jon, it's Jon Amor. I don't want to keep correcting you, Tommy, because I'm
sorry, man. I'm like dyslexic.
Don't worry about it.
Amor.
JonAmor.com. If you type that in, that will take you to the Tumblr page.
And then they can buy the...
Yeah, and I'd love people to buy it because, like I say, I'm very proud of it. I got a lot. There's some great musicians played on that album. Just friends that I've made over the years, and they sound amazing. You know, they made me sound good on that album.
Oh, cool.
But I'm very proud. I'm very proud of the songs on there as well. I think it's some of the best stuff I've done.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you should have corrected me earlier.
Yeah, I'm so used to hearing people pronounce it Amore that you just. And I fully understand why people do, because that's how I would pronounce it if I didn't know.
Yeah, Amor.
Yeah, don't worry.
No, it's not that. Because I was saying with Kyla, I kept saying Carla because I'm like,
yeah.
You know, Del Boy pronounces words wrong. That's kind of, I can't help it. I'm always getting corrected here at home with everything. I can't. It's just I see words, I say it how I sort of see it, and then so.
I'm not. About it, mate.
No. But it's just if people do listen in other interviews, I can't help it. It's just you know, it's one of them things. But I'll do my best to edit it.
Yeah, no worries.
I was gonna say so yeah, and then we'll get on to the Peppercorn music video. I loved. It really made me smile.
I'm in several of my elements. Now don't you make me have to choose. You hear me knocking at your back door, baby. I'm biting more than I can chew. I'm biting more than I can chew. So baby, take the T-bone and the peppercorn sauce. I'll spread the mustard on the bun. Several of my elements. I'm making movies on the side. An expedition without precedent. Don't let the invitation slide. Don't make me holler down the phone line. Don't make me knock upon your door. 'Cause I'm in several of my elements. Got me looking out for more. Well, got me looking out for more. So baby, put the T-bone and the peppercorn sauce. I'll spread the mustard on the bun. Shake it out the bottle as a matter of course. You and I were never overdone.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. I was going to say it was fun to make. It was fun to make. It was also infuriating.
I could
to
imagine,
make.
but it come across really well. The little man in the box and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And I took a long time setting that up and making it look as good as I could make it with sort of.
I was kind of envy, you know, like, damn it, man, that's so cool.
I surprised myself with how well it turned out actually. But you know, that was in the height of lockdown, so I didn't have any help with it. I was trying to do it myself, and I was filming it on my phone, setting up my phone, and trying to get in position with this strange sort of body, action man body underneath me, trying to remember the words to mime along to it. Then I think I'd got the take, and I'd watch it back, and a bit of gaffer tape was hanging down, or something fell off, or so, and I had to do it sort of again and again. But it was worth it, I think.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a great video, considering you've done it at home. You know, considering how much videos take to make.
Well, yeah, but I think that's something that lockdown has proven is if you've got the ideas, and if you've got the wherewithal and the energy and the time, I guess, to put into it, you can come up with some great stuff. There was some really inventive stuff.
How did you do it though? It was in a box, wasn't it, I guess?
Sorry?
Was it like a box? I remember it being black with the curtains and...
It was... I used 2 of my guitar amps. I put them on my kitchen table.
Right.
They formed two of the walls, if you will.
Yeah.
And then I had my 2 hi-fi speakers, which I had placed, and all of this really was to block out the background, which was my kitchen.
Yeah.
So I tried to fill the frame with all these sort of speakers and music paraphernalia, and I hung some lights, some blue lights up, and I put a black sheet up behind it as well. And it was quite the operation.
And how long was it like that for? All day or a couple of days?
It took about 3 nights. 3 nights it was, because I was working during the day, and I was coming home and trying to get this video made. So it was three solid evenings of trying to get it right. So I was really pleased in the end with it. You know, given the restrictions, and given that I did it on my own and just used whatever I had in the house, I was quite pleased with it. Yeah.
And you could obviously cook around it and leave it set up.
Yeah, I've got a fair decent sized kitchen, so fortunately I could have my dinner and then sort of look at the set while I was eating. You know. It worked well.
I didn't ask you where was you born? Where are you from?
I'm Devizes, born and bred, mate. I was born in Devizes and grew up in and around Devizes, which is, for those people who don't know, it's in Wiltshire in England. It's halfway between Stonehenge and Avebury, which is another stone circle, so it's quite a mystic place.
Not too far from where I'm from then, Basingstoke.
Yeah, I think you've told me that before. Yeah, but about an hour away. Yeah.
I used to play the railway, I think, in where that bloke assassinated all them people. Yeah. There's a place called the Railway, I think. They used to have like jam sessions in.
Oh, okay.
And stuff. And I'm sure I played in Devizes at this, like, I vaguely remember, like a restaurant bar, and they used to have bands at the back.
Where would that
I'd have
be?
to go back in my old diaries, but is
the Crown, perhaps?
Could be the Crown, Hope and something, or Cross Keys, or is there a Cross Keys?
Not in Devizes.
Just outside.
There's a Cross Keys in Roud, which is a little village down the road.
Yeah, it could be there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right in my manor, Tommy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I read with your upbringing with the music that your dad played piano and your brother played guitar.
Yeah.
And then it was your brother that sort of lent you his guitar and showed you a few chords and got you on the path to...
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think my mum would mind me saying that the music comes from Dad's side of the family. Dad was he must have been very cool. He was a sax player in a dance band, and he would tour around Wiltshire in breaking down vans, just like I did, playing dance halls and stuff like that. But he played piano. He could get a tune out of anything. So he was very musical, and my brother Pete played guitar and sang and played keyboard. He also played a bit of sax, and he was in bands during the sort of 70s and 80s. And yeah, he lent me his acoustic guitar to try and learn some chords. He showed me a few chords and left me to it in a way. And I gave up after a couple of months. I don't know. I didn't think I'd ever be able to do
You
it.
wanted to be a forward for Liverpool, centre forward. Yeah?
Where have you found all this?
Can't tell you.
All right. Yeah, I did. I wanted to be Kenny Dalglish, and during the summer I wanted to be John McEnroe and Ian Botham.
Okay.
I was very sporty.
Do you still support Liverpool?
Yeah, of course I do.
I've got a book here signed by the whole team from 1988.
The 88 team.
Yeah, Kenny Dalglish is in it, and Peter Beardsley, John Barnes.
Yeah. Greyhound.
Yeah, Ian Rush, Mike Cooper, and
All the legends.
I don't know. I'm trying. I've been trying to sort of put it on the market for years, but I don't know.
What a beauty! Look at that.
It's in good condition as well. £3.75. 1987, 1988. But they've all signed their pages. I left it there when I was a kid, and I got took to Anfield. There's Kenny Dalglish
Awesome.
with the signature in the middle. But I didn't know if it's worth taking the pages out and putting them in frames, or sending it as a John Barnes, Alan Hansen.
Yeah.
I'm obviously not been into football for years, but I just kept hold of it because they all signed it. Gary Albert.
Ablett. Yeah.
Yeah. Gary Gillespie. Steve McMahon.
Steve McMahon. That would.
Yeah.
be.
See what I mean with the words? I'm terrible. But yeah, they're all signed it, so it's just one of them. I spoke to a guy recently, but he says he don't know, and he wanted to see pictures of it to prove if they're the right ones, which is fair enough. But I just thought I'll get round to I've had it since '88, so
I imagine that'd get a few pennies, mate.
it was the winning team, wasn't it, of that time?
It was one of the great Liverpool sides. Yeah.
John Aldridge, he signed his there. But yeah, so I don't know. But no, they were like I say, when I was up to about 13, when I found the guitar, I supported Liverpool too.
Yeah.
That sort of same sort of period that you were sort of saying.
Yeah, I think for me I was about 15 when I started playing the guitar seriously. When I really wanted to have a go at it, and music then took over from the sport a little bit. But I've always had a passion for sport. Without a doubt, cricket in particular, I used to play a lot of cricket. But being a guitar player, you know, having a leather ball hurled at you at speed is not the best thing for a guitar.
No, and you know you're great at it. So I don't know what you like with football skills, but but yeah,
not so good.
So with on your writing side, then, what's the favourite song that you've written? What's the story behind it?
Oh man, oh Tommy.
I asked this same to Ian Seagal as well, so don't wimp out.
So what's my favourite song and what's the story?
Yeah, you got one that you sort of like really proud that you wrote it, and you know you've because I write like you, and there's certain songs that you think, you know, I really, when I gig it and play it, you just feel it has a connection with you, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, there are a few that I'll spring into mind. There's a song called "In the Devil's Backyard," which is on the Unknown Soldier album, which was. I'm proud of that song. I think that's a good song. That was sort of inspired by a trip to Kazakhstan, and I don't really want to go too deeply into that. But
you seem to say that. You said that the things where I found some of your research on some of other interviews. You say that I don't want to go too deeply into that with it.
Well, part of that is obviously confidentiality. Okay. But the main part of thinking that is that I don't really like explaining lyrics to people, because I think when you listen to a song and you hear the lyrics, however you interpret them, if they strike a chord with you, that's good. And sometimes when you find out what a song is really about, change that, you know. And I don't like doing that.
And everyone probably sees things differently into their own world, you know.
Yeah, and if it chimes with you and your life in some way, even if it's not what I meant when I wrote it, I don't want to interfere with that, you know, because at least you're still touching people in some way, you know.
Have you got any songs that you've written that you don't remember where that's come from?
Oh, loads of them.
And I don't mean drink, you know, through that, but I mean it's come from elsewhere. It's just like...
I know what you mean. Yeah, loads. I mean, the way I write songs, so, I don't know if it's like this for you, but a phrase, if we're talking lyrics, a phrase will just land in my head out of nowhere. And I'll start from there. There'll be something about the phrase that I like. And I'll start from there and I'll build a verse. And it might even be not until I've written 2 verses, it might be that point where I sort of decide what the song's about. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
What direction you're going in?
Yeah, kind of. And that will then shape maybe the 3rd verse or the chorus. It takes a while for me at least, to realise what the song is about. And sometimes it's very specific. Sometimes it's broader.
Do you overwrite and then edit, or?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And the Colour in the Sky album, I spent a long time on the lyrics on that album. I just wanted it to be interesting lyrically. I don't like lazy lyrics, Tommy. You know, I don't like going with the first rhyme that comes into my head or the first phrase that comes into my head because it's safe. You know, I don't like that. I like to. I like playing with words. I've always liked words, love language, and I like using unusual words in songs sometimes, or even phrases that don't really mean anything, but they just sound cool. And I've been writing a lot this year, while we haven't been gigging and things like that. And you know, I've been writing a lot, and I'm really just writing imagery, interesting pictures, interesting phrases that get you thinking, what does that mean, or you know, things like that. I don't always do that, but I've quite enjoyed that recently.
When you write a song, do you try to consciously guide or like the meaning, or do you try to follow subconscious direction? Right.
Well, I guess that's kind of what I've been talking about. Yeah.
Go with the flow.
Yeah, and I'm not too concerned these days about what a lyric means. I think if it's just interesting and thought provoking, I'll go with it. And what will normally happen is I realise what it means sometime after. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think, you know, I like to think my lyric writing is always growing. I used to be quite specific and quite personal. I'm not concerned with that at the moment. Maybe I'll go back to that. Maybe I'll become more introspective and start writing more personal songs. But I'm not really doing that at the moment.
Have you written anything with someone else singing it in mind?
Not yet. Although I do quite like that idea. But even then, I think whoever sings it has got to connect with what they're singing, and so then I guess you're talking about writing broader lyrics, maybe with some kind of universal theme. I'm not sure.
Who would you say influenced you lyrically?
I'm a big fan of Elvis Costello. I'm a big fan of Tom Waits. I'm a big fan of Beck, James Taylor, Loudon Wainwright III. I don't know if you know him. I'm a big fan.
What about other side of it, like poetry or books that influence you?
maybe they did in a way that I can't articulate. But I used to read a lot, not so much recently. Not poetry really. I can't say I've been a big reader of poetry.
What books did you read then?
So at school, I did A-level English and studied Shakespeare a lot. I do love Shakespeare and Chaucer and people like that, but mainly because they're great stories, not necessarily because of the language or turn of phrase.
Chaucer, wasn't that the one that rhymed, every sort of 2 lines that rhyme with each other?
Yeah, well, yeah, not all.
No, the famous one that he wrote, I remember seeing a bit of. Is that the Canterbury Tales?
Canterbury Tales is the
Yeah, and it rhymes, don't it? The 2 lines.
Big hit. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what else he's written.
No, not all off the top of my head. But yeah, we did the Canterbury Tales at school. I used to enjoy all that, but that was the sort of storytelling side of things, really. And I like a song that tells a story, lyrically, you know.
Do you find it hard to write yourself, or do you prefer to write, with other people?
Well, they've both got their joys, I think. I think initially I liked to write myself. I think it's a challenge collaborating, because when you have strong ideas or a strong vision of what you want, then you kind of aim for that, and when someone else comes on board, you kind of get pulled away from it, and that can be quite hard sometimes. But
have you tried writing with Joel?
No, we haven't actually. We've talked about it,
because that seems a logical thing if you work together.
Yeah, absolutely, and maybe we will in the future. I would quite like that idea, because I'm a bit more experienced with writing with people now. I think it takes a while to realise that if you open your mind up to other people's ideas, you can really come up with something great, instead of being in your own bubble all the time. But I go through phases. At the moment, I'm very much in my own bubble. And just pleasing myself and quite enjoying that. But certainly over the years, I've enjoyed writing with other people and with bands that I've been in.
Do you have a partner at the moment? That's
yeah.
And how long you been with her?
A year and goodness me, about 18 months.
Cool.
Yeah. It's life is sweet.
If you had 3 wishes, what would you wish for?
At the moment, I would like to visit certain countries that I haven't been to. I'll tell you what I'd wish for: a tour of Japan.
You're big in Japan.
It fascinates me, that place. I would have loved to have gone over there and toured. Just to experience that. To answer your question, I feel like I'm going to try out cliched things, but they really are true. All I really want at the moment is to count my blessings and enjoy each day and make the best of each day. And I know that sounds cheesy and corny and cliche, but that really is where I am in my life at the moment. I'm not really wanting for anything at the moment. I've got a nice place of my own. I've got a nice girlfriend. I'm lucky to have a job. I get to make music in my spare time. Hopefully I'll still do the odd gig here and there. My family are fine, and things are all right. So I'm really finding that question hard to answer, mate.
What do you for your music in the future? Are you going to obviously carry on? Are you going to see it as a hobby? Are you going to come back and give another big push? And
I don't know about a big push. I think I'm tired of all that. I always struggled with it. I always struggled with the self-promotion and the business side of music. I was never very comfortable with it. And one of the reasons I stopped making music for a living was getting harder and harder to make money, and I was enjoying it less and less. And it's the big push and having to play the game and all the self-promotion that I really struggle with. But I've got to say, since music stopped being my living and became my hobby, if you like, if you want to call it,
your friend.
Yeah. It's I've enjoyed it a hell of a lot more, and because there's no pressure on it anymore.
And it's coming from a different place. You don't feel.
Yeah. And it's coming from the place it really should come from. You know, that place. You know, we both know it. It's coming from that place where you initially.
Well, it's that
felt,
15-year-old boy that picked up a guitar and just wanted to make music. Yeah.
You know it, mate.
Will you come and play tonight? How much? You're not going to say how much is it. You're just going to turn up and play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think it's kind of inevitable after 25 years of being a professional musician. You do get jaded, and you do lose a bit of enjoyment. Maybe not everybody. I don't know. I'm sure. Well, I know there are plenty of people who never lose their spark and will play anywhere for anything. And you know, I wish I could say I was one of those people, but I don't think I am. And the touring side of things is, I've just done it, man. I don't, you know, I don't really want to do that too much anymore. I really think I'm in a position now where I can cherry pick gigs that I want to do, and it's not about the money anymore. I don't really want to do solo gigs under a dartboard for 100 quid somewhere to 2 men and a dog, because that's not fun. Particularly when only the dog is watching, you know what I mean? It's demoralising, and that 100 quid goes pretty quickly, and then you're stressing for another couple of weeks, and it made me unhappy. It's as simple as that. It made me unhappy.
We're always chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing. And...
Yeah. And it's such a competitive business, and particularly now when the market is flooded as it is. I mean, that's such a double-edged sword, the internet, isn't it? It's a great outlet for people, and you don't need the label anymore. You can, if you've got the wherewithal, you can record your own music and you can put it out there and you can have an audience, and that's fantastic.
The only downside I see is that they want a continuous flow of stuff coming out all the time. Yeah. And if you can't, but if you're a perfectionist, you don't want to put shit out. And sometimes you can't put a song out every week or every 2-3 weeks because you want to make it right. And, you know,
I think there is a pressure because people's attention spans are shorter. I think that's fair. I know I'm generalising, but I think, you know, generally, I think people's attention spans are shorter, and there's so much out there, you know, and you need sort of video content to put out there and plug. And if if you don't make an impression within the first 20 seconds, they might scroll on to the next video, you know. So it's really tough, and it does mean that you've got to be good. You know, that hasn't changed.
No. And you have to hit them within the first few seconds.
Well, yeah, it seems that way. It's that way. But that is, of course, a big generalisation. But it's just really tough. And it's nice not to have that pressure dictating your livelihood. That's the difference, I think.
If you could go back in time and experience something again, what would it be? And it doesn't have to be personal. Is there anything in time, in history, that you would love to go back and sort of see, or?
Well, I mean, again, obvious. It must have been amazing in the 60s, and that kind of cultural revolution in the 60s. You know, watching the Beatles or watching Elvis or, you know, watching Hendrix. You know, it must have been mind blowing. So I'd probably choose to experience that if I could.
What are you most proud of?
What am I most proud of? I am proud of myself from a musical point of view for always pushing myself, I think, to come up with, not resting on my laurels musically, not ploughing the same furrow, challenging the listener, perhaps. We were talking about that first Amor album and how the different reactions to that. I'm proud that I didn't just trot out a Hoax type first
shuffles and blues stuff.
Yeah, really proud of that, and I've tried to maintain that in my career. So I am proud of that, and maybe, hopefully, people respect that.
What is your desert island disc?
I think I would go for, you'd give me just one.
Yeah.
I would have to go for a JJ Cale album, and I am going to pick Troubadour.
And do you have any other hobbies?
I go to the gym. I like walking. I used to like running, but my knee can't take it anymore. I like sport still. I like watching a test match. I would love, now that I'm working, it's difficult now that I've got the day job, but bliss for me is sitting down on the first day of a test match with my guitar and a cup of tea, and just watching the test match unfold as I have a practice on guitar, and that's a beautiful day for me. So I guess that's a hobby. Yeah, that's probably it.
Do you have any favourite quotes in life?
Look back, but don't stare.
And if you could go back and give yourself some advice, a younger you, what would you give yourself?
Don't worry, don't stress. I think I used to stress over the small things. I used to stress about the uncontrollables. All you can do in life is control the controllables, do the best you can. Everything will be all right. Whatever happens. I think that's what I tell my younger self. And, don't be such a dick.
I think that's rule number one, but yeah. Don't be a dick.
Put that drink down now.
All right, I'll ask you a few quick fire questions.
Okay.
Cash or card?
Cash.
Love or money?
Love.
Morning or night?
Morning.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Do you have sugar?
Yeah.
JJ Cale or who shall we say, Mark Knopfler?
JJ.
Okay.
Love Knopfler. I love Mark Knopfler, but it's JJ.
Okay. And what about JJ Cale and Eric Clapton then? Same.
JJ.
Okay. Blues or rock?
Oh, blues.
Sweet or salted?
Salted.
Do you believe in ghosts?
No.
Electric or acoustic?
Electroacoustic.
Electroacoustic, okay. Do you like Marmite?
Yeah.
And do you sing in the shower?
No. Oh, well, I have done.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure, Tommy. I like the quick fire ones. More of those next time, mate.
Yeah.
Don't give me too much time to think. I'll just pause.
No, it's cool. All right. We'll give us a thumbs up.
Nice one.
Hey, it's Tommy Allen for TommyAllenMusic.com, and that was Jon Amor. You can find out more about him and his music at www.jonamor.tumblr.com. Next week, we have Marcia Ball, the boogie woogie piano player from Texas. Come and check that out right here on Tommy Allen Music, 7 p.m. next Wednesday. Please give us a like, hit that subscribe button. Until next week, a word from our director.